Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and you know what? One of the questions that I get asked most often is this: is moving to Italy really a smart financial move for me right now? And I love this question because it's a thoughtful one, but when you're thinking about moving across the world, changing your currency, buying a property, moving your life, evaluating whether it's financially a good idea is a critical part of the equation. And it's not cheap to pack up and move thousands of miles away. Even in your home country, moving costs money. But you factor in those added costs of moving to a foreign country, and balancing your timing is a strategic thing, and it takes time to plan. Now, contrary to what you might be feeling right now with the instability in the economies and the politics around the world, moving to Italy right now, timing couldn't be better. And whether you're thinking about retiring here or working remotely or investing in a little slice of Italy for yourself, there are some real practical financial reasons that make this moment in history so exciting. So in today's episode, I am breaking down the 4 biggest reasons why moving to Italy isn't just about following your heart, it's actually a smart financial strategy too. I'm going to talk about the taxes, the cost of living, real estate, and the new visa options that are opening the door wider than ever before. So grab your cappuccino, settle in, and let's get into it. I'm Samantha Wilson, Chief Dreammaker at smartmoveitaly.com, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show where each week I take you behind the scenes of what it's really like to move to Italy, introduce you to some fascinating people, answer your questions, and show you how starting a new life in Bel Paese is possible for you. All right, let's start with the one that surprises almost everyone, and that is taxes. Now, Italy is quietly offering some of the best tax incentives in all of Europe right now. And honestly, I don't know why people aren't running to Italy only for this reason. The government wants to attract new residents, some retirees, some entrepreneurs, some workers, highly skilled workers. So they've created programs that can dramatically lower what you owe in taxes. Now, to be clear, when you become an Italian tax resident, which is when you move and live here full time, you will be evaluated on your worldwide income and your foreign assets, the value of your foreign assets in wealth tax. Yes, we have wealth tax in Italy, but it's not for every new arrival. Now, here's the good news. If you are retired or just collecting a pension, even drawing down on your superannuation or your RSP 401ks or your state pension in the UK, you can qualify for the flat 7% tax in Italy. Now, this is a special tax incentive for people who have not been a resident of Italy for the past 5 years and are collecting a foreign pension. You can opt to pay only 7%, a flat 7% on all of your foreign income for up to 10 years. And the only condition is that you need to live in a qualifying town in southern Italy. So we're talking about regions like Sicily and Calabria, Abruzzo, Campania, Puglia, or even beautiful Sardinia. These are gorgeous regions filled with charm and sunshine and a slower pace of life, which is perfect if you're retiring. Now, the bonus is that there is no wealth tax. So not just are you paying a flat 7% on your foreign income, you don't have to worry about paying any tax on all of those assets that you've worked so hard to accumulate all your life. Now, this means that your foreign assets are free from being taxed in Italy. And for some people, this is a real game changer. Now, after 10 years, you will go back to the normal tax rates here in Italy, but 10 years, it's a long time to prepare. Now, what if you are not retired with a pension? Well, Italy also has you covered. They offer some of the greatest incentives for you as a tax resident. Now, if you are self-employed or a freelancer, so I'm talking a digital nomad, most importantly, or maybe you're coming here because you are an EU citizen or you're Italian, a dual citizen, or coming here to work. There's some tax regimes that are for new arrivals that are really incredible. There's one called the Regime Forfettario, and this is a simple system. And this is a flat 5% tax on your earnings up to 85,000 euros a year. 5%. Now that's a huge difference compared to 40% or more that you might be paying back home. And even if you compare this to other popular places in Italy like Spain, where digital nomads pay sometimes like 26, 28% on their income, you could be talking thousands of euros in savings every year. There's a big difference between 26% and 5%. Now, there's also a second tax break for new arrivals that are working and maybe ones that earn more than 85,000 euros a year. And that's regime impatriati, and that is where 50% of your income goes into your pocket tax-free. And then you are taxed at regular rates. Italian regular rates are graduated, 23 to 43%. And you would pay your regular Italian rates on the balance of 50% of your income. So this can also be an extremely great option for those with higher earnings. And if that isn't good enough, if you are making even more money or a very high net worth individual or global earners, there is even a better incentive for you to move here for tax reasons. There is a flat 200,000 flat tax for high earners. That means that all of the income that you earn, you are only paying a flat 200,000 euros in tax. Now, the 2026 budget is proposing to increase this to 300,000, but since it's only one single payment that covers all of your worldwide income for a year, for some, it's still an extreme deal. And your family members are only 25,000 each per year, regardless of what their income is. So this is the same type of program that you see in other countries like Monaco or Switzerland, but here you get a better access to Europe, a beautiful quality of life, and incredible health care. Now, the key is to plan ahead and understand your tax options. You normally will elect these options on your first tax year here in Italy, so it isn't something that you need to actively do right away. But to be aware of this savings alone can be extraordinary. I mean, who thought Italy could feel like this little mini tax haven? Well, for the short term, at least, for the arrivals, that is. And by the way, you don't need to be a foreigner in order to get these incentives. If you are an Italian listening out there and you've been living abroad for 5 to 10 years, depending on the tax break you're looking for, these incentives apply to you too. So with the right strategy, you can make your move to Italy not only emotionally rewarding, but financially brilliant as well. Now let's talk about something everyone feels the moment that they arrive, and that is the difference in the cost of living. Compared to cities like London or New York or Toronto, life in Italy is simply more affordable and often far higher in quality. Housing is where you'll see the really big difference. You can rent or buy beautiful homes in walkable towns or near the sea for a fraction of what you'd pay elsewhere. Prices are going up for Italian standards, by the way, but compared to those cities that I mentioned earlier, you will still feel like a kid in a candy store when you come here. Honestly, some are really hard to believe. Now, what about daily life, like groceries and things like this? Well, groceries are fresh and they're local, which means it's a lower cost. There's no middleman, no transportation costs, no gassing in greenhouse costs, just fresh from the farm to your table. And if you prefer not to cook, well, eat out because it's still very affordable. Yes, there are Michelin star restaurants in Italy, and they cost more, of course. But an incredible meal for two in a local trattoria with an appetizer, a main meal, a dessert, and a bottle of wine between two people, it can still cost about 50 euros if you're in these tiny little places. I was recently in Edinburgh, that's how I'm supposed to say it apparently, and we had a glass of wine and a tonic water, and it was 22 pounds. 22 pounds, that's 3 bottles of wine in Italy, and we couldn't get over the difference in the cost of living. These small things have a huge impact in your overall budget. Now, even private healthcare in Italy or international schools cost far less than in English-speaking countries. And I've had clients go from paying over $5,000 a month for a family for health insurance in the US to under 200 euros a month here. And that includes excellent healthcare. Now, of course, Milan and Rome and Florence are more expensive. These are big cities here. And once you look beyond these big cities, though, to the smaller towns, in Tuscany and Umbria and Puglia or Sicily, little towns in these regions, your euros will stretch even further. Now, what I love most is that Italy's affordable doesn't mean sacrificing quality. It's not like, the old stuff that you have to buy or the outdated things. It just means there's better food, more time with your family, and a richer way of living. You're not just spending less, you're actually living more. Now let's get on to reason number 3. And this one is close to my heart because I love property. Now, Italy's property market is still one of Europe's best kept secrets. Prices have dropped, of course, a while back in 2008 during the crisis, but they've kind of stayed surprisingly low. And I know that's a long time ago, but they haven't moved that much, especially compared to France or Spain or other countries. Now, this means that you can still find incredible opportunities right now. Beautiful apartments in walkable towns and countryside homes with tons of land, even little seaside villas, often for half the price of what you pay elsewhere in Europe. And as more international buyers are starting to move in, like retirees or remote workers or investors, we are seeing prices slowly climbing up. But if you're thinking long term, now is the perfect time to buy before the next really big wave hits. Now, the one thing that many people forget is the low annual property tax here. So it's not just the cost of your property that is much lower, it's maintaining it is much lower too. Now, I remember paying $8,000 to $12,000 a year in property tax back in Canada, which was a lot. Here, if you elect prima casa, which is your first home benefit here in Italy, you pay nothing, nada, zip, no property tax forever, or as long as you're living in the house. Now, if you don't have prima casa, like it's your second home, you still have to pay property tax, or it's called IMU, but it's still negligible compared to what you are used to. And I'm talking about 500 euros up to maybe 2,000 euros a year. It's nothing. Very, very low property tax. And incentives for restoring homes or making eco-friendly upgrades. You've just got this perfect investment landscape right now here in Italy. And what's going against you, by the way, is really the currency exchange rates. But even that, with the proper planning, you can also save. Now, I've added a little link in the show notes where you can speak directly to our currency specialists, and they can help you plan for these ups and these downs. So if you're planning to move to Italy, if you plan the right way, you can actually save. That shouldn't be much of a barrier for you. Now, in short, Italy's property market is still undervalued, way undervalued for what you get. But that window of opportunity will not stay open forever. Now, my final reason number 4, is a big one because it used to be what stopped most people from moving to Italy in the first place. And that was getting here, or getting a visa. Now, there used to be very few options. I mean, if you were retired and had a great pension, then of course the elective residency visa would work. But other than that, it was pretty difficult. Now there are more visa options than ever before, and they're designed for real people like you who want to move and work and contribute to Italy's economy. Now, if you're retired, there's, of course, the elective residency visa. It is ideal if you have a pension or passive income and just want to settle into Italian life. And of course, that flat 7% tax is a winner for you. If you're a remote worker, the digital nomad visa, the new digital nomad visa, it's only been out for just over a year. It allows you to live in Italy legally while working for non-Italian clients, and sometimes Italian clients too. It's perfect. If you're location independent and you're craving more stability, don't forget that there's that regime forfeiture, that flat 5% tax benefit. It's perfect for you. And if you're an investor or entrepreneur, the investor visa, this is Italy's golden visa. This is your pathway to residency. If you want to, you don't even have to move your tax residency here. Any tax option, by the way, that I mentioned earlier is open to you. It's actually open to anyone that qualifies for the taxes because visas, which are immigration, and taxes are completely separate things. So depending on your situation, if you are an investor visa, you could opt for any of those tax savings. And for some of you, that flat $200,000 flat tax can be a significant savings as well. We've had many of our investor visa clients opt for that benefit. Now, these options don't just get you into Italy. They give you access to the entire European Union, which means easier travel, more stability, and long-term security for you and your family. So let's wrap this up. Italy is in this incredible sweet spot right now, almost a perfect storm. Taxes are low for newcomers. The cost of living is manageable, actually low. Real estate is still very undervalued, and visas are more accessible than ever. And then we can't forget about the high quality of life and the connection to community and lifestyle that is so important in Italian lifestyle. It is the perfect moment to take your dream very seriously. Because here's the truth, these opportunities won't last forever. The best time to start planning is before everyone else realizes what's happening. And as I always tell every one of my clients, when a door is open in Italy, you have to go through it. Don't wait, because these things have a habit of changing without notice or very little notice, and they don't usually come back. So if your heart's been telling you to make the move, this is your sign to start. Moving to Italy isn't just a romantic dream. It can be one of the smartest financial decisions that you'll ever make. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions, all left on our voicemail. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. All right, let's get into the questions. Question number 1. I've heard that if you have a UK driver's license, that you can switch to an Italian driver's license without having to take the Italian exam. And I'm happy to tell you, yes, this is true. If you have a UK driver's license that was issued in the United Kingdom, and I don't mean converted from another country's license into UK, I mean I took a test through the UK testing system and have a UK driver's license, then yes, this driver's license can be exchanged here in Italy without the need for a driver's exam, no written, no driving, no nothing, which is a really good thing. In fact, it was, I think, the last thing that they had negotiated on the withdrawal agreement. Of course, if you're a European citizen, the same thing goes. If you have an EU driver's license, you can convert this to an Italian one without having to take the exam. Question number 2. We are thinking about the investor visa. Do we have to live in Italy full time? Well, I have great news for you, because back in 2021, the investor visa had made some changes, some major changes to it. There were 3. And one of those changes were that they removed the requirement that you had to spend a specific amount of time in Italy to keep the permesso di soggiorno, which is your permit of stay, attached to the investor visa. So what that means is now the investor visa, you do not have to stay here for any minimum amount of time in Italy to maintain the permit. And your permit, by the way, for the investor visa is for 2 years, renewable for another 3 years, and you can continue to renew it as long as you maintain the investment. Don't change it in any way. And there's no requirement for you or your family to have to stay or live here for any period of time. What you do need to be mindful of is that you are not in Italy for more than 183 days in a calendar year, because this will trigger taxable status in de facto. So you just need to be careful. If you do not want to take your residency in Italy, you don't want to move here full time, just make sure you don't stay for more than 183 days in a year. But you can stay for 1 day if you like. Doesn't matter. Question number 3. What is the minimum investment for the investor visa for Italy? And can I change my mind? All right, so the changes that I had talked about earlier in the last question, one of the other ones, the second thing that changed, was the amounts of the investment. It used to be 1 million euros in an Italian company or 500,000 euros in an Italian innovative startup. And they reduced that in half to 500,000 and 250,000 in an innovative startup. So 500,000 in shares or 250 in an innovative startup. And this actually has opened up the doors to a lot of people who can find a way to manage the 250 into the Italian innovative startup. Now, the thing to remember is that you do not make this investment until you actually get your visa and arrive in Italy. In fact, you have 3 months from the date of arrival in Italy with your visa to make the investment. If you decide not to proceed after you've arrived with your visa, you just won't get your permit. You won't get fined. There is no penalty. Of course, the people you have committed to invest in will be super angry, and there might be some kind of contractual problems that you'll have to deal with. But for the visa itself, you do not have to make that investment. You can just change your mind and leave. So this is a really nice almost a cooling off period that you can use. Now, most people follow through with it because that was their plan from the beginning, but you don't have to. And then the other thing to remember is that when you make the investment, you do not have to, even though your permit is good for 2 years and then 3 years, and then you can continue to renew it. It doesn't mean you have to commit to that investment for that period of time. You can change your mind and sell your shares at any point, but knowing as soon as you do that, you will lose the permesso di soggiorno. If you're investing in an innovative startup, sometimes you'll have an agreement with that startup that you're not permitted to sell your shares for a certain period of time because, of course, a startup has to rely on that money because they're essentially a startup and they need these funds. So depending on your situation, most cases for the visa itself or for the permit, you're allowed to leave at any time, but you might have a second agreement with your investment. Well, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about visas, citizenship, property, and well, really anything about moving to Italy that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, please feel free to send us a voicemail at our website at smartmoveitaly.com/podcast, or just click on the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can find all of the resources and the links to the people and the places that I mentioned in this episode inside the show notes. Ciao for now. A New Life in Italy podcast is a production of Sentire Media, created and hosted by me, Samantha Wilson. Production by London Nero, and with special thanks to Ali Frothingham, Sofia Pisana, and the entire team at Sentire. Follow A New Life in Italy wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're thinking of moving to Italy, whether full-time, part-time, or for a lifetime, come and see me over at smartmoveitaly.com and we'll help you get here and start living your best life. And don't forget, if you love this episode, please rate and leave a review. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to meet up with you again next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.